Hey, I'm Johnny Warrior for Johnny Warrior TV, your source for regional news in Southeast Asia and the expat community. Today is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017, and let's start with the Korean Peninsula. Cricket, cricket. That's right, not much of anything going on there. There's been a little bit of poking and prodding from the United States relative to the fact that they may launch a second ICBM test out of California, but in the same note, President Trump, U.S. President, extends a small olive branch stating that he would be willing to come to the table with President Kim Jong-un. This is definitely a difference in foreign policy over the many decades where the United States refuses to talk to the rogue state. However, President Trump feels that he'd be able to bring a diplomatic end to it by coming to the table with him. Hey, anything's worth a try. Geologists are stating now that it is possible that multiple nuclear launches could cause some volcanic activity within the ring of fire that's closely approximate to the Korean Peninsula. It's already volatile and stayed a lot of earthquakes coming in. There was 400 in Alaska in a 24 to 48 hour period. Small tremors, not large. But there was 400 individual earthquakes in a very compressed time. And they're thinking that there is some volcanic activity somewhere along the Great Ring of Fire in the Pacific. Some underground nuclear testings might be enough to wedge it out and cause some volatility. So they're going and using climate as an excuse to bring diplomatic policy on the table. Moving over to South America. Venezuela. The elected president of Venezuela is continuing to threaten to rewrite the Constitution. The U.S. has stepped in and stated that they're not going to accept that, and they will produce sanctions against Venezuela. I'm not sure what that's going to do when it's already an economic downfall, but Venezuela is taking adherence to. They're trying to bring some type of stability and quiet on the streets with the huge amount of violence that's been happening over the last week or so. Now, a lot of this unrest is causing issues in other parts of the region. Rio de Janeiro is having to send riot patrols out because there's violence in the streets bleeding over from political unrest and ideologies over in Venezuela. It's affecting Brazil. Now, how does this affect expats? Belize is an extremely popular expat community. A lot of Americans are attracted to Belize because of its economy, its perceived geopolitical stability, and its proximity to the ocean. It's beautiful, English speaking predominantly, etc. Now, the influence that Venezuela has and the U.S. poised for all their intel gathering over from Belize into Venezuela makes Belize a big target with Venezuela. So a lot of violence can bleed over into there, and there could be unrest in Belize if it's already going into Brazil. So it's like buyer beware. Okay, so there is some destabilizing factors in South America. You know, it could bleed into some parts of Central America as well, because remember, it's just a smoke screen in some of these areas like Panama City or Panama. You know, not too long ago, the governments there were very, very unstable, and it's just only been over the last decade or so that it's really brought any stability into that area. So, you know, God Almighty, American dollar has a tendency to bring the perception of anything in. Let's see what happens. All right, guys. There's not much more to report on. We've, you know, the Asian conference has wound up here. Not much more. Waiting on to see if there's going to be some solidity in the visit with Duterte and the President of the United States. That would be good. Definitely get some trade there's an issue of trade deficit against the United States and the Philippines, but it could work for the benefit of the Philippines in the long run. So the one side note dealing with the Chinese positions of that loose alliance between China and the United States dealing with North Korea is the THAAD missile system is causing some very serious chafing on China, so much so that they're really protesting it and backing away from their position in taking the lead and trying to bring diplomatic means to the region. They don't want that there. There's a lot of protests in South Korea as well, because South Korea feels that it's making them a target, although the government of South Korea wants it there, so there's a mix on it. A little bit of a note that I think is worthy of a PS on this is that Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump have come to some type of agreement making safe zones in Syria. So they're progressing a positive dialogue, coming to some stability in, what their roles are and how they're going to deal with the Syrian issue. This is a good thing, because as things were starting to sour there, it was de-escalating elsewhere. Also, don't get too starry-eyed about it, because I know that a lot of people had this pro-Putin movement relative when Trump came into office. You need to understand, I think it's the rhetoric that Trump had, and Hillary Clinton blatantly told Putin, hey, I'm going to bomb the crap out of you if you don't do XYZ. Now, on the back burner, Putin has put in a claim for 400,000 square miles of ocean floor underneath the Arctic Circle, and has his Arctic Brigade posted in the Arctic, and he filed that to the UN as a solid claim. Why do you think he might be doing this? Yes, I do believe to tap into some of those natural reserves that are found. So I think that they're looking to, a lot of this rhetoric is, hey, look over here. Yes, a sleight of hand. So let's not get too pro-Putin, as he's kind of pulling a fast one on us. All right, guys? Remember, it's always good to stay in the know. Always stay prepared. Until tomorrow, I'm Johnny Warrior. Stay safe.